visualization, all these points that Becchi and I bring out, they can be used and manipulated in so many different ways. They're that versatile. They are principles for your life, not just one area, your life. Right?
That's an important, very important point to touch upon, I think, because sometimes we get caught up in the idea, like people are showing up and they're like, this is what this is about. Just talking about visualization, but so many of the things that we are jumping into are so expansive, farther beyond the amount of time we have to share here. And so we're just giving you a tidbit.
Visualize anything from moving your status in life to healing in the body to you name it. It's every part of your life. I mean, think about it. How many times have you overthought and got really stressed out thinking about having to have that hard conversation, and then when it finally came up, it was exactly the way you thought about it? Well, guess what? That can happen in the perverse. You could think about it from a grounded, expansive, open way, so that then when it shows up, that's how you show up, so then there's no choice but for that to happen. So when we finally allow ourselves to just and realize we are making shit up all damn day, but then we realize, but I have a choice. I can consciously choose what I'm gonna make up.
Yeah, that whole idea that we are, it sounds so vague, and it sounds like, I think a lot of times when we get into these spaces and we're talking about things like you can create your reality, and people are like, sure I can. Wish that was the truth.
But you are. But you are.
Every second of the truth. Every second of the day. With the words, with your thoughts, that's exactly what we're doing.
And I oftentimes with clients, friends, loved ones, they're like, okay, but what's the difference? Visualizing's thinking. And I'm like, here's the difference. Visualization is not about managing. See, when you're overthinking, let's say for a conversation, for example, if you're overthinking, overanalyzing, you're trying to manage feelings. I talked about this in stories earlier this week. You're not a feelings manager, right? Just your own. And if you are overthinking a conversation and trying to sidestep, well, I won't say this because I don't want them to feel this way, you have just created resentment inside your own body and blocked your throat chakra because you're not speaking your truth. So you yourself have now, because you're choosing to overthink about it in this way and you've chosen to not speak on this, which is now going to build resentment, you have just created the most rocky ground and environment. So the person, when it does happen, has no choice but to respond in the type of environment you've already created. You haven't created open and fertile ground. You have created a hostile environment. You are hostile thinking about it, and it is building. And that is where you're going to end up pouring from when it does present itself.
Yeah, and then the outcome that we are intending or thinking that we want to have, but we haven't set up the parameters that we need for that to be possible. Mm-hmm. We don't have any of that when we arrive there. And so we're not getting the results that we want.
Exactly.
And I love that you touched on that. I didn't even realize I wore my blue today, but so fitting because it's the throat chakra color. And we keep coming back to this. This is such a huge space. And it's not just about speaking your truth, realizing you have a voice and feeling empowered to use it. It is connected to all of these other aspects and how we decide to use them, and then how that allows us to show up and be able to even have a voice in those spaces at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you're overthinking, you're in the negative. To visualize is about seeing that ideal outcome and continuing to nurture the space within yourself for that to even to be present and come forth. It's about imagining the flow of the conversation going in a way that's respectful, grounded, and still true to your intent. Mm-hmm. So when you're preparing and thinking about forward, it's not about controlling and managing. Because if you're trying to control and manage, you're a fixer. And well, if you're a fixer, that means you're always going to be looking for problems, and therefore you're always going to find them. So it's time to switch into builder mode, because see, there's a lot, Becchi and I talked about this earlier. There's a lot of buildings out there that when you walk into them, they were built centuries ago, simply because of the intricacy and the amount of time and detail that has been spent on the smallest of things. Yet, you'll walk outside of it and see a plaque on it that says found it in. Because that's as deep as they can go. They only found it. They found it. And they didn't need to fix it, because if they needed to fix it, then they wouldn't be still using it. All they've done is continue to nurture what someone built. So, do you want to be a founder or do you want to be a builder? Because if you're a founder, you're going to always feel like you need to fix something. There's always something to be fixed. And trust me, you'll always find a problem.
And the fixing, when you said that too, it really, I was making that connection instantly of like fixer mode, which I tend to find myself in at times. I got to check myself. Fixer mode and being in control, trying to control things, it's a dangerous combination. So when we can figure out that we can be more in the flow of things and understanding, having that discernment about the things we can control and the things that we can't, that's when we start to become really powerful, when we can channel all of that into the spaces where we know we can control these things. And of course, visualization is one of those spaces. So that's why we're here to talk about it.
It is.